this telecast for many years, you know I have stood here many times. This is a new program with a new message, with a new shirt. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, I told them, when I start taping, the sounds go off in the Holy Land. You know, you never know what you're going to hear. But this is a real important message. It's called, I've actually titled this, How Prophetic Wars Shake Up Territorial Spirits. And I want to read this to you. It says this in Daniel chapter 2 and verse 21. God changes times and seasons. He removes kings and he sets up kings. Now, if you are aware of the prophetic word, you'll know that there have been 6 major empires of prophecy, all the way back to Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome. And if you will look at those empires, a number of those empires shifted when one empire would overpower the other. For example, the Babylonians came in, overtook the Assyrians, and then the Medes and Persians came in, overtook the Babylonians. Alexander the Great and the Grecians came in and overtook the Medes and Persians. And of course, the Roman Empire emerged in this part of the world, in the Mediterranean area. The reason I want to share this with you is to help you understand how that when new leaders are appointed, it doesn't matter if it's in the United States, if it's in the nation of Israel, or anywhere in the world, there are spiritual powers connected to the rise and fall of world leaders. And to understand that, we go, for example, let me read a verse that helps you understand how this takes place. In Revelation chapter 18, verses 2 and 3, this is the prophecy about Mystery Babylon. He cried mightily with a loud voice and said, Babylon the Great has fallen. Now watch this, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hateful bird. And this is a reference to a part of the world. In fact, Mystery Babylon, according to John in Revelation, is the city that's ruling over the kings of the earth. And in this particular overthrow of Babylon, once the city falls, it's overtaken by demonic powers and demonic spirits. Now, in the 7 prophetic empires, actually 6 that have existed, the 7th is coming and will continue for a short space. Some things happened that you have to go into the history, or you have to go into the Bible to understand. First of all, when one empire would overthrow the other empire, the old spirits were displaced and a new prince spirit took over. Now, Daniel 10, if you'll remember, Daniel is writing from Babylon, and the Medes and Persians have overthrown the Babylonians. And in Daniel chapter 10, Daniel describes how a prince over the kingdom of Persia came from Persia into Babylon. And as Daniel was trying to receive an answer to a prayer from a revelation that he had, the prince of Persia was preventing the answer from coming from God in heaven over Babylon to Daniel. And so what happened was, when a new empire took over, then the spirits, we're talking about demonic spirits now, of that particular empire, then get dislodged in the area where they are from and move into the new area where they are taking over. One of the most interesting stories that illustrates this was many years ago in Tibet. There was a group of missionaries working with the Tibetan monks. Actually, they were over there, basically ministering to them and trying to witness to them. And they got up one morning, and all the monks were saying that 1,000 of their gods had left for Germany. It was the day Hitler had been elected as Chancellor of Germany. And many of you are aware of the fact that Hitler had a very occultic group connected with him, in which he assigned them to conjure up evil spirits and demonic spirits. And when he was a student in Austria, he stared at that spear, which was allegedly the spear that pierced the side of Jesus. And throughout Roman history, whoever controlled that spear would control the world. And when they would lose that spear, they would lose power over their empire or over their nation. And Hitler stared at it, and he was taking a mind-expanding drug. And in a diary that he wrote, he mentioned how that he was staring at the spear, and he suddenly saw a beast. That's the word he used, sublime and fearful, that appeared behind the glass showcase. And in his 20s in Austria, he said, I gave my soul to the spirit of the beast. And when he invaded Austria, one of the things that Hitler did was he took that spear and put it in his possession. And when the Allies bombed a bunker in the 1940s, in 1945 in Berlin, that spear was in that bunker, and we found it, and it was in our possession. And oddly enough, when we had it in our possession, when the United States had control of that same spear, which again allegedly was the spear that pierced the side of Jesus, we became the super nuclear power of the world when we bombed Japan. So there's a lot of mystery and mystique, mysticism, if I can use that word, that's connected in the spirit realm to empires that rise and fall. So again, if we look back at this situation with Babylon, we discover that it will in the future, once the city falls, it becomes overtaken and overpowered, according to John in Revelation, by demonic spirits and by all types of evil spirits. Now, I want to read or share some things that I have made from my notes from the book of Daniel. In the book of Daniel, when the Medes and Persians overthrew the Babylonians in Babylon, there was an angel of the Lord, and we believe that angel was Gabriel, that made a statement to Daniel and said, in the first year of Darius the Mede, this was the new king of the Medes, I stood to confirm and strengthen him the first year of his administration. A leader, now listen carefully, a leader of any nation can bring with them the angel that is assigned to them to bring them success. And if an angel of God is assigned to a world leader to bring that world leader success, watch carefully, demonic powers are suddenly raised up to stop the prophetic success of that leader. Now, whether or not you, and I'm going to make this statement because obviously the United States is split about 50-50, whether or not you like or dislike Donald Trump, he did something in this city that every other president promised if they were elected they would do, and Bush didn't do it, and Clinton didn't do it, and George W. Bush didn't do it, and Obama definitely didn't do it. Yes. And that was, he said, I'm going to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. Now the reason that's significant is when an embassy is moved into a city, it recognizes that city to be the capital of that nation. And it stirred up demons. Now listen to me. It didn't just stir up political people. It didn't just stir up radical left. It stirred up spirits like nothing I have ever seen in my life. Now, I want you to understand the prophetic side of this. The prophetic side of this is that when a man recognizes on the 70th year that the nation exists and it is the capital, that means it's aligning prophetically with what the prophets of the Bible predicted would happen before the Messiah comes. Now that's you see. Now, I really believe that he did not do this to help bring Jesus back, like some people suggest. But in the process of doing this, he has aligned this nation and this city into the prophetic realm that the prophet Zechariah told us it was going to take place at the time of the end. So imagine that in Revelation 12 it says that Satan has come down with great wrath, knowing he has but a short time. Imagine the stirring up in the spirit realm of the principalities and powers against this man, because the enemy says, if I don't get rid of him, how do I know he's not going to do other things that would help create the avenue or the road for prophetic events to be fulfilled? Does this make sense to anybody? Yes. So spiritual people who understand the principles of the Bible understand what I'm talking about. Now, what I want to do is this. I want to also mention to you, and this goes in line with what I just told you, but I want to mention to you that demonic spirits will attempt to retaliate against those who move them out of their territorial power. Woo! I just said a mouthful right there. Now I want to prove it to you from the Bible. In Mark chapter 5 and verse 17, Jesus came under an attack after casting the demons out of the man of Gadara, and the people ran Jesus out of town because the territorial spirits had lost control when Jesus showed up. Okay, that's one example. A second example is in Acts chapter 16, when Paul affected a city with the preaching of the gospel, and then they are arrested and beat up and put in prison to silence their voices because of the impact they had in a city that was totally controlled by the spirit of Python, or what we call spirit of divination or occult spirits. Another example in Acts chapter 19, when when that demon was cast out of that man, you know, the seven sons of Sceva came and said, we adjure you by Jesus whom Paul preaches to come out of the man. And then that spirit was raised up and jumped on those seven men. Anytime that there is an impact of the gospel or a life-changing situation that could affect prophecy that is connected to a particular momentous event, then two groups become involved. Number one, the angels of God become involved. And number two, the demonic powers become involved, because the angels are assigned. Oh, I wish I had time. Well, if you all get my book on this season of angels, you'll understand what I'm saying. During prophetic movements, the angels of God are assigned to bring about the prophetic word that God has spoken. They fight for the fulfillment of prophecy. It's in Daniel 10, 11, and 12. Satan, on the other hand, attempts to bring his powers along to raise up people to oppose that. This happened when the Jews returned from Babylon captivity, and they were rebuilding what back in that day was their temple on the Temple Mount platform. And Sanballat, who was from Samaria, and a group of other men rose up against them and tried to stop, get this, the rebuilding of the wall at the end of 70 years captivity. Am I talking to anybody that understands prophetic things? And so they were raised up to try to stop what was happening by using opposition and government laws and opposition to stop the Jewish people from actually doing what the Lord had told them to do. Now, what I want to do, however, is to tell you and show you a couple things from the story of Daniel as it relates to what happens or what begins to happen when spiritual powers are released during these prophetic seasons. In the book of Daniel, we discover something very interesting, and I want you to track with this because this was a revelation to me. I never read this in a book. I never heard a preacher preach on this, but it was a revelation to me. In the book of Daniel, for the earlier part of his time in Babylon, he could get an answer to prayer that quick. When they would put them in a lion's den, he was already protected before he ever got there. When the three Hebrew men were placed in the fiery furnace, they were already protected by the fourth man, right? Before they ever got in the fire. And someone said, well, three went in, four were seen, three came out. What happened to the fourth man? I said, he's still down there because he knew that wouldn't be the last time his kids would have to go through the fire. So he decided just to stay down there where the fire was. I think somebody wrote a song on that, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I want to give you three things that happened to Daniel, because as he became older in the city of Babylon, something began to happen that made it more difficult for him in the realm of the spirit, not for him to walk with God, but in the realm of the spirit. Now track with me right here while I show you this. When the Persian spirit, new prince, took over Babylon with the Medes and Persians, something shifted. Now in America, what has happened is there has been a shifting. I have never in my lifetime seen anything like this. The war we're having is not political. Everybody wants to make it political. It is a spiritual warfare. And anybody who's got half a sense of discernment knows this is not about left, right, Democrat, and Republican. That's what the visual presentation is. It is a spiritual warfare over the social, moral soul of the United States of America. That's really what the battle is. And remember, both angels use people and also demonic powers use people from both sides. This happens. This is in the Bible. But let me show you this. Are you ready? Number one, Daniel hit these challenges the older he got when the new spirit took over. Daniel, first of all, his prayer base was dwindling. The Jews were leaving captivity and coming back here, leaving the older people who could not travel in Babylon, and Daniel was one of those in his 80s. And so now he had thousands of Jewish people that were there with him in prayer. Now they're all gone, leaving his prayer base less than what it should be. Now you follow me because I'm going to show you this taking place in the United States of America. Number two, Daniel was older now, and it became more difficult for him to battle in the area of prayer and fasting than when he was younger. Because as he was older, remember he prayed 3 weeks, became weak by fasting, and was hindered 3 weeks in his prayer. Why? The prayer base has dwindled. He's battling more. Now, you know, like I do, it's a whole lot easier to pray with 100 people than it is to pray by yourself. And so now he's older. He's fasting. Fasting makes him weak. He used to be able to fast, man, and just get on. I know that story, and most of you do too. So now, because of his age, things are changing, not with his walk with God, but with his ability of fasting and prayer. The battle is intensifying, making it harder on him physically because now he feels weaker. Does anybody understand that? You know, I used to be able to fast like crazy and get up and preach for, 11 weeks straight and hardly eat. I can't go a day without eating now and try to pray. I mean, really, it's just difficult. Now, the third thing that happened is this, that Daniel was dealing with a new prince spirit that he had never hit before. He never encountered this prince of Persia. He had dealt for 70 years with the prince of Babylon, whatever principality we want to call that, but it was over Babylon. So when the prince of the kingdom of Persia, a demonic principality, very strong, very high ranking, moved from Persia to Babylon, because Babylon would be the new headquarters of the Medo-Persian Empire. You know that historically. Then Daniel is experiencing a battle with spirits that he's never encountered before. Now, something shifted in the atmosphere with the new spirits that came in. I have lived in the United States for 59, almost 60 years. I have watched the progression of America come to where when I was a kid, we slept with the windows open and the doors unlocked. And we had guys that were town drunks and we didn't worry about them breaking in because they just were not the kind of men that would break in and steal anything. I walked to school half a mile at kindergarten by myself with traffic and people, never took a bus, and nobody worried about kidnapping me because the people in the town weren't going to do that. In fact, in the homeboys of the mountains, you kidnap a kid, you might as well get ready for eternity. You understand what I'm saying? Because the homeboys are going to raise up. And anyway, let me not go there. I'm going to leave that alone. So what I want to tell you is this is what's happening to us. Number one, the prayer base in the United States, those people that I call the prayer warriors, like my Aunt B, daughters of Rachel, a lot of them, not Aunt B, are going home to be with the Lord. Now, you've got to replace the prayer base. Every time a saint in a church dies, you've got to have somebody that can replace them. But what's happening is in the rural churches and some of our churches in America, the older prayer base has gone to be with the Lord and nobody's replaced them. So basically, we've got programs going on, we've got good music going on, but where's the prayer base? Are you with me? So Daniel's prayer base diminishes, and that's what's happening to us. The second thing that I see happening to us is this, let me say it this way. The prayer warriors are getting older or going to be with the Lord, or the prayer base in a lot of the churches is dwindling, and we're comparing to what happened to Daniel. And thirdly, we are dealing with spirits today that we've never had to deal with. Now, my family on my mother's side came from Italy, and they were Catholic and came from Italy and lived in West Virginia, worked in the coal mines. In my dad's day, in Bartley, West Virginia, in McDowell County, a lot of the people who worked there were from Germany or from Europe, because when they came and migrated to the United States, most of them were in that day were Catholic, Greek Orthodox or Catholic, and they came into the mountains and worked in the mines. And a lot of times in those earlier days, the people that came in had some kind of a religious background in some form of Christianity. We have, however, people who come into the nation, and I want to say this, and they bring their false gods with them. And just like in the ancient day when Israel settled this land, there were 7 Canaanite tribes that worshiped idols that they said, let's get along with them and let's agree with them. And God said, their gods are going to be a snare to you and they're going to be a thorn in your side. Because what people don't understand is when you bring in idol gods, you bring in demon spirits with them, because demons operate through idols. There are entire nations where people are possessed by demons because they have all kinds of false gods and false idols that they feed, they pray to, they leave food to, they leave money to. And as a result of that, the spiritual powers in those nations are very strong. So my point is that what happened to Daniel in Babylon is happening to us today. And because of the number of wars that are taking place, whether they're internal struggles, whether they're civil wars in nations or actual national wars, there is a shakeup of the principalities and powers. The way that Daniel countered it and this is the only way that we can counter it in our time, is number one, by fasting, because fasting breaks the back of those demonic powers, according to Jesus, even what he said. And number two is to stay intently in intercessory prayer. There must be, in every church, in every group of people, intercessory prayer. At the Omega Center International, we have Tuesday prayer from 12 to 1, and we'll usually have somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 25 people show up. We have prayer in a prayer barn, a barn, that's right, not where there's animals, but it's a prayer barn nonetheless. And we'll have, the low number will be 50, and the high number is 150, and they've been doing this for 8 years every Thursday. And the reason the ministry is going the way it is, the reason that we're reaching the nations of the world, and the reason God has blessed us and prospered us the way he has, is we have people who know how to pray and get things done through prayer. So in the nation of America right now, we have to fight what we're fighting through intercessory prayer. Because what God will do, he says this is God speaking, I will raise up people, but I can take out the people. And the people not being anybody in particular that I have in mind, but the point is, only through intercessory prayer can it change. And we need to learn how to call on the angels of the Lord. And I think that's the reason why the Lord really put it in my heart a while back to details of the subject of angels, because they are there. And so many times we don't ask God for their assistance and ask God to send them to help us. And we need to do that. I really believe that. Well, I'm with my partners here on the Mount of Olives. I hope you've enjoyed the program. I do have a totally brand new offer that I want to share with you. So stay tuned and don't change the channel at all, because I've got some information I want to give you. Let's give the Lord a hand from Jerusalem. First day. They're in Jerusalem for the first day.
Experience a personal spiritual breakthrough, fresh knowledge, and a new understanding. Tap into God's wisdom while in your home, office, or driving by listening to the 8 new messages from the 2023 International Main Event. Perry Stone's 5 new messages include 3 major prophetic updates that answer questions that many are asking. The titles are A Stern Warning to All Rapture Scoffers, Correcting Errors Being Taught Concerning the Great Tribulation, The Prophetic Missing Link of the Sign of Christ's Return. Included are 2 of Perry's most important warfare messages of 2023, Shutting the Door on Satan's Ability to Get into Your Life, the mystery that Satan tries to keep you from discovering. Along with Perry's 5 messages, when you order, you will hear Ron Carpenter unlock an amazing biblical mystery that will change your prayer life in his message, It's an Inside Job. Jensen Franklin shifted the atmosphere by exposing America's anemic Western Christianity in his message, I Am Not a Professional Christian. John Kilpatrick received a visitation from the Lord, then presented an anointed spiritual manifesto entitled, First the Attack, Then the Blessing. These 8 messages will help set an unshakable path for your spiritual walk and your expectations of a victorious outcome and prepare you prophetically for the future. You too can experience what thousands of others did when you order. The Main Event Conference is available on audio CD, DVD, and audio USB drive. Also, for your convenience, the conference is available as video on demand at perrystone.tv. The 8 audio CDs are offer number 23ME-CD and are available for a donation of $55. The 8 DVDs are offer number 23ME-DVD and are available for a donation of $95. The 8 messages on a USB drive are available for a donation of only $55. Request offer number 23ME-USB. Order today by calling 1-888-21-BREAD. That's 1-888-212-7323. Or order online at perrystone.org. You may also mail a check to Perry Stone, P.O. Box 3595, Cleveland, Tennessee 37320. Order these messages today and uplift your spiritual life and help Manifest with Perry Stone continue to reach the world.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Manifest telecast. And, you know, we're trying to present to you every week a fresh word from the Lord. Twice a year, our main event and our prophetic summit, we give you excerpts, but you never see all the message because we only have about 22 minutes to give you a 70-minute message. This is why I want to encourage you, if you have not ordered the DVDs, CDs, or the flash drive of the main event, please do so. Now, there's two reasons. Number one, the messages are very life-transforming, eye-opening, and revelatory, all of them, and inspiring to your spirit and giving you knowledge that you can use for future practical and prophetic living. But more than that, and I say more than that, that's the primary reason for presenting them to that, but you need to understand that this is how we keep the Manifest Telecast on the air. The Manifest Telecast is free to you in the sense of there's no charge for you to watch it, but we do pay stations. As a matter of fact, our Manifest bill a year is over $5 million a year just to keep the program on the air around the world. So when you purchase the material or you send in a donation, you help us to continue to do that every year. I think we've been on television now for 23 years. I remember when I first went on, I had completely dark hair, and I think I had a mustache, if I'm not mistaken, and that was about it. Well, you can tell time has caught up with me a little bit, but many of you have been with us from the very beginning. I'm so thankful for that. I'm grateful, and so is Pam and the family and the staff. I just want to remind you, though, that when you go to perrystone.org, you can find out where we're going to be. A lot of times I tape these closings in advance, and I don't always get in those places that we put in at the last minute. So go to Perry Stone Ministries Facebook page every day and see if I'm posting where I'm going to be. You can go to the Perry Stone YouTube channel, but you can go to perrystone.org and you can find out in the itinerary if we're coming into your area. And don't forget the special with Bill and I at the end of January. You need to register for that. And also, we're coming to Dallas, Texas, February the 4th. I don't have the finalizing at the time of this taping, but it will be on the internet Sunday night to dedicate a church there in Dallas, Texas. Looking forward to that. But those of you that live in the area of Texas, Abundant Life Christian Center, Pastor Walter Hallam's church in Lamarck, Texas, February 18th through the 21st, and that's a Sunday through Wednesday. Now I want you to mark your calendar and not miss a service. And then I'm going to be driving down and going over to One City Church, Pastor Randy Felshaw's church in Beaumont, Texas, Friday, 2 services on Saturday, and all day Sunday, February the 23rd through the 25th. Now, we do have other places that we're coming to. We're planning on coming back to Hawaii. We're going to be having our main event, of course, next fall, our prophetic summit at the end of April, our Warrior Fest at the first part of April. So always go to perrystone.org to see where we are going to be coming to, and check out our many resources as well. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you next week.